judge people and what to do, what to say, another way to look.
That was a lot of money that went to a guy who was convicted of peddling his influence.
He wasn't going to win, right? So you made the right decision here.
Now, the Big Five on the Elias Mecco Show. Brought to you by investment advisor Richard Lapointe of CIBC Wood Gundy. Richard Lapointe can always be reached at 847-6324.
Eat your vegetables. You got to eat your vegetables before you get dessert. You have to have the broccoli. You have to have the Brussels sprouts. And if you say Brussels sprouts are not delicious, that's because you're making them wrong. But you've got to eat your vegetables before you can eat dessert. And that is what I'm feeling this morning on the Big Five. Because in order for us to get to dessert, alligators and cheerleaders, we got to eat our vegetables. And that means talking about bills. Bill 21, Bill 40. On the Big Five this morning. David Heurtel, how are you doing?
Good morning, sir.
Of course, David is a former Liberal cabinet minister and counsel now at Fasken. And, of course, Trudie Mason is on the Big Five. Hi, Trudie.
Good morning.
Vegetables first, okay? We start off with the vegetable of Bill 21. EMSB going to court over Bill 21, and they're getting money, which I guess at the end of the day, technically speaking, came from the federal government. There's what it's called the Court Challenges Program. It's not administered. It's not like Justin Trudeau gets the papers and decides on his desk, right? It's administered by the University of Ottawa, right? They get to decide if there's people that need money to fight stuff in court, they can apply, get a grant. This is what's happened. Of course, if you're a sovereigntist, if you're part of the Bloc Québécois, if you're Yves-François Blanchet, you love this story because it's an example of the federal government meddling in Quebec's affairs. And for the CAQ government here, they also say Ottawa's trying to meddle. Quebecers have decided we are the government. We represent the majority. This is settled. How dare you? What do you say, guys? CAQ have a point?
I am secretly rubbing my hands together because you know what? It means that my tax dollars provincially, as channeled through the English Montreal School Board, are not going to have to go to fight that odious law, that it's going to be federal, because I think this should be actually a national concern. And Ottawa is basically admitting as much. Ottawa now says it's received letters from 3 international organizations, one of them being the United Nations, asking about this bill. There are concerns beyond the borders of Quebec, in the rest of Canada and internationally, about what Quebec has done here. And I'm sorry to the Legault government, but you're going to have to answer to that. And this is, I think, a symptom of that. I think it would help if the organization at the University of Ottawa that administers that Court Challenges Fund could reiterate what it says on its website, that it makes its decisions independent of government. I think that would be helpful in this case. But you know what? Sovereignists are going to say what they're going to say. And the government that, is foisting this bill on us is going to say what it's going to say. The fact of the matter is, it's an attack on fundamental rights.
It is an attack on fundamental rights, and one of the roles of the federal government, and this is not a new thing. The federal government, regardless of the parties. Now, I know that this program was actually killed by the Stephen Harper government and revived by the Trudeau government, but it did exist prior to Stephen Harper's cutting it. These are the types of programs that exist to protect minorities across Canada, linguistic minorities, but also there are programs that pay for court challenges for First Nations. Mm-hmm. This is not a new thing, and these have criteria. This is not politically motivated, as you said in your intro. So these are programs that exist specifically to protect what Canada is about, which is about bringing together everybody in this magnificent large salad bowl, as we call it.
But of course, like if you're a sovereignist, this is so juicy for you. And I was listening to Yves-François Blanchet yesterday, and he was asked, well, what if this was people in Manitoba who were fighting for French language rights?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's completely different. And then he's asked, well, there's a lot of people in the rest of Canada who say paying your salary and using their tax dollars to support a sovereignist in Ottawa, that's something they don't want. And he's like, oh, well, that's completely different. Everything is completely different for these people, except if they can start a ruckus. If they can start a little chicane, they love to grab hold of it. And I'm a little bit worried about that because you just never know.
It's not picking up, Elias.
It's not.
You're seeing it in the media. You know what they're trying. Obviously, Quebecor is trying to generate something with this, but they're giving a lot of play to the nationalists.
So nobody in Quebec wants to buy this soda anymore,
but
right?
They're not. They first of all, they're concerned with a lot of other things right now. And for example, Bombardier, even the school boards issue is a much bigger issue right now, even in French Quebec.
Westbound 20 is stop and go now from...
Yes, please tell us more, Catherine.
And on the westbound 20, actually, they're not talking about this at all. Yeah. But the thing is that the point I want to make here is that these types of issues and what the federal government is doing very, very astutely here is showing that this is not a consensus issue, as the CAQ has been saying. Yeah. The CAQ say, everybody agrees with this, and this is not true. Remember, I've kept saying this. Last federal election, majority of Quebecers supported parties that were against Bill 21. Remember that.
Yeah. Okay, let's move it along to our other vegetable, Bill 40. And that's, of course, the bill that's going to get rid of school boards in Quebec, right, and replace them with the quote-unquote a service center. The education minister, Jean-François Roberge, introduced 80 amendments 2 days ago, and now they've decided, time for studying the bill over. And here's the thing. This is now the fourth time in a record amount of time, just over a year, that this government has invoked closure on really serious matters. I guess the question I have is there not someone in the CAQ government who's, who understands the parliamentary history, who sort of gets like, hey guys, we're not a dictatorship, we're a democracy, we got to let opposition parties say their piece. How come there's no voice from within the CAQ? I don't know, let's call him the Mitt Romney of the CAQ, the guy who's got the chutzpah to say, guys, we got to stop this, we got to let people debate stuff.
They don't care.
Nobody in the whole party doesn't care.
No, they don't. They have political capital. Remember, most of these people went to the Republican Party School of Politics. And what they are seeing right now is they have 60% popularity. They want to get rid of all these types of issues early in the mandate. Mm-hmm. Problem is that, yes, they do have political capital right now, and they're spending it. They're spending it the wrong way, on the wrong things. But the problem is that slowly but surely they're losing that sympathy factor. Yeah. Because you're seeing it with Jolin Barrette. You're seeing it here with the school boards. This is not just an Anglo issue. This is not just an immigrant issue. In French Quebec, a lot of people are saying, hold on a second. School boards have a role. School boards are important. Mm-hmm. School boards are important for our communities. And no debate on this. Sure, they'll get it through. But more and more, and that started last fall, this government is less and less seen as compassionate, less and less in touch, and we're just a year into this mandate.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think this is just more of what else is new from this government. It has been saying since its election, we have a mandate from the people to do what we want. We have a mandate. The people told us they wanted this. They voted for us. Stop arguing with us, basically, as if winning an election gives you carte blanche to do absolutely anything. And they, taking that business-like approach that they promised to affairs of government is leading to these situations where, as CEOs, they don't want to hear any naysayers. They don't want to hear anyone in their organization, taking on the executive suite, being the cabinet, and saying, wait a minute. You would think that at the very minimum for this particular law, maybe perhaps the guy who's supposed to be representing the Anglophone community might be saying, whoa, minute, but apparently that has not, either it hasn't been done or it hasn't been enough to slow down.
He's not even in the room. He's not in the room.
Government is not business, right? Government is not business. And David, you mentioned sympathy. And this is like, the boy who cried wolf. This is the government who cried invoke closure. Mm-hmm. And, they should be able to do it every now and again when it's something really important, they need to move on. But it should be a rare occurrence, not like every time we have something big, we're invoking closure.
In 4.5 years, I think we did it 3 or 4 times.
The stories the office is buzzing about. The Big Five on the Elias Mako Show.
We are at the CJAD 800 studios. In the studio with me, Trudie Mason, David Heurtel, and I said we've got to get to the dessert, but only after we eat our vegetables. Coming up on the Big Five, we'll tell you about why that alligator that crossed the street. Remember the alligator that crossed the street? And it was such a fun story, especially on a weekend. Well, that alligator is back in the news. We'll tell you why in just a second. But first, let's talk about recycling. Not recycling. Plastic bans. It's all in the same green bucket, isn't it?
It's connected to recycling. It's
connected. So Montreal has announced they're going to have a complete plastic bag ban going to come into effect by the end of the year. But here's my question, guys. The federal government has already told us we are going to have our own single-use plastic ban, going to be comprehensive for the whole country. They're going to tackle the issue of the straws and the forks and all that stuff at the same time. So why was it so important for the city of Montreal to jump in here and do this when we're going to get a national plan a few months later? Don't they have other stuff to do at City Hall?
Yeah, but they needed some green paint to splash around, to make themselves look trendy and on point. And I think that's why. Also, we're seeing increasingly that this administration wants to put its Montreal stamp on everything. So, the federal ban is not going to be good enough. There's a Montreal version of that will be particular. Or we've seen complaints about that just this week with the definition of anti-Semitism that has been approved by many international organizations and other jurisdictions that Valerie Plante has sent to committee for study because she wants a Montreal angle, on that. It's as if everything has to have the Plante administration stamp. So this to me is more of the same. I kind of shrug my shoulders. We all knew this was coming down the pipe. So if you're a merchant, I'm assuming you already had a contingency plan in place because you knew the feds were going to act.
It's a great contingency plan. Sell people $2 bags instead of a 10-cent bag. It's a great contingency plan.
Yeah, trying to tear down open doors here, and really what this politically means that this is a reaction to the whole recycling crisis. That's why I said there was a link there, because politically, I think this administration has positioned itself ever since they got elected as the greener, more eco-friendly type of party. And Projet Montréal is trying now with this to yet again show, and as Trudie said, put on some green paint on this administration. But the problem is, with real issues like recycling, they're in big trouble because we haven't heard the last of this. Yeah. This is going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars to transform all the way we recycle, but not because we're not doing it the right way. And so the whole bac bleu situation and the way our recycled materials rather are sorted out has to be completely transformed.
So the recycling I put out this morning. Today's my recycling day. I put it out this morning. That's ending up in landfill.
Most of it.
But
will be.
We've got a plastic bag ban. We're green.
Well, there you go. So this is classic political pivoting and deflecting, because on the real fundamental issues that need to be changed and that are part of what a municipal administration has to do, they are not moving fast enough.
Well, I also think it's cheap for a city to declare a bag ban. I mean, what's that actual cost to the city? Nothing. But, for example, hiring more sorting workers or giving the recycling company more money to hire more workers to do a better triage of what's coming in out of the bins, that's expensive.
But the triage has to be done even before. Because the quality of the material when it gets to the centers isn't good enough.
Yeah, I get it's already contaminated.
Yeah.
What happens to your baby, David, the Publisac bag? Is that going to be part of this plastic bag ban?
No, because it's recycled materials. The plastic bag is made out of recycled plastic. Friend.
So if it's recycled plastic,
it's not single-use plastic.
Okay, but if it's recycled plastic, can the grocery store give it out? Because I'm getting the new recycled bag at my door, right? In the Publisac, I got that yesterday.
Publisac plastic is made out of recycled plastic and can be recycled.
Have we actually seen what the city is banning?
We haven't.
Because maybe the city is going to ban all plastics, even those made from recycled stuff.
And that's what I'm saying. I think they're anything plastic is see you later, goodbye.
That's what this is. It's an attack on the Publisac.
There you go. There you go.
They've got it. Okay, guys, remember the alligator? What was the street that the alligator was? Jerry? What was the street?
It was Jerry Street.
Jerry Street. Remember the alligator? It was a Sunday, a slow news day, and then perfect timing. Alligator decides to go for a walk on the street. Now, I'm not making this up. I remember at the time, when I brought this up on the Big Five, I said, hey, guys, by the way, this is not the first time this alligator's been in the news. This alligator was caught on the street before. Well, now, this alligator is up to a lot of trouble. The alligator's been accused of biting a child.
He's an alligator.
Yeah, that's right. He's an alligator. Now, but still, so it was a 4-year-old child at this alligator. Now, the alligator's not allowed. The owner of this alligator has a license for the alligator, but they're not allowed to be in a home. They have to be at, the business location or wherever it is, wherever you keep alligators. I don't know where that is. Got to be the proper alligator location.
In your cubicle.
So the owner brings the alligator to his home. There's a 4-year-old child that comes over on the weekend, and I guess the alligator's name is Chomper, because that's what I would name an alligator. And Chomper chomps down on the 4-year-old kid's foot. Now, she's okay, but it still looks pretty gnarly when you look at the photos. It's an alligator, right? But doesn't it actually come down to it's the owners that are at fault, right? It's not the alligator's fault. It's the owners that are at fault.
Well, should the alligator actually be owned? I think is the question. I'm not a big fan of these traveling exotic pet things that hide behind an educational banner and say, well, yes, we are keeping these wild, dangerous creatures in captivity, but it's for the education of our children so they appreciate nature. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that I'm buying that, and certainly there seems to be problems with this particular operator.
For any animal, if the owner can't keep that animal well trained, there should be real fines, not $250 like this is the case here. You should put $500,000, $1 million, depending on the type of injury, and even tack on jail time, and really make the owners responsible. That's where the responsibility lies.
What do you think pit bull owners that every time a pit bull mauls a child or does something terrible, always like, it's the owner's fault, it's not the dog.
It is the owner. It is the owner's fault. You have a dog. I have a dog. Uh-huh. You have to train the dogs, and you have to train any animal. Some animals are more difficult to train than others, but you have to make sure that the owners are responsible. And if there's an accident, those owners have to pay.
Well, this is 3 strikes for this alligator owner, right?
Two on the street, but $250. The fine is $250.
Nuts.
It's nothing.
Especially if you own an alligator, you must have some bucks to throw around, right?
Should.
It's
just the food budget must be something.
All right. Last dessert item on the menu, folks. Montreal Alouettes. This is a curious thing. Yesterday, we get this story, and it comes out because it came out on the Facebook page of the person that ran the cheerleaders at the Montreal Alouettes. And she wrote, we've just been informed, no more cheerleaders in 2020. We see this news, and in the newsroom when this came out, we're thinking, oh, this must be the Alouettes deciding, 2020, society has evolved, they're going to become super woke, and we don't need cheerleaders anymore. That's what we thought. And then, over at CTV Montreal, across the street, they reached out for comment, and they get a comment from the Alouettes, and they're like, we have tough financial decisions to make as we do this financial turnaround of the franchise. And I'm like, they just got new owners, right? 2 magnates from Ontario who apparently had the bucks to buy this football team, but they don't have the dollars for cheerleaders? That to me doesn't look good. Regardless of if you like cheerleaders or not, why would you? It doesn't make sense to cut that, in my opinion. What about you?
Well, I think it was convenient. It was a convenient off-field budget cut, if I can put it that way. In terms of this is 2020 sexism and all that, I interviewed the woman who runs the squad, I think it was last year, because she was making an effort that they had started a few years previous of getting more men on the squad to do more elaborate tricks, stunts, like athletic, throw people in the air and catch them and stuff like that. And so it was becoming more of a mixed squad and a more athletic presentation rather than just shaking the pom-poms, for the fans. So I was kind of surprised to see this. She said that she was surprised. I think they're going to be back with sponsorship. I think some beer company or something in exchange for putting the logo on, on the cheerleaders' outfit somewhere. The squad will be back.
I think they didn't want the debate, and that's the first thing they thought about. And they didn't. But at the end of the day,
it's such a dumb way to do it. Like, if
It
I'm going to
is,
do that,
it is.
I would say, like, I would come out with a press release and say, here's our plan for our fan activation this year, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to do this. Oh, and by the way, we're getting rid of the cheerleaders because of this. Not, hey, why'd you get rid of the cheerleaders? We don't have the cash.
This wasn't
that looks
really
bad.
thought out. This, especially, they've signed several players. There's 6 NFL teams that don't have cheerleaders anymore. This is not a new thing.
It's also
But the thing is
Yeah,
that
but
have
it's
you ever
different.
been? I've been to games. I mean, this is not the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. This is athletics. This is not objectifying or
well,
sexual.
the women wear
sexualizing.
belly tops, and they're
Belly
all
tops.
very attractive and fit. Come on,
Well,
belly tops.
What, and that's a crime, being attractive and
no,
fit.
but come on. Let's understand. There is a certain sex appeal angle.
They didn't
to
want
that.
the debate. They didn't want the debate,
Well,
so they went to money.
I will point out that the guys on the squad, in the videos that I saw, the guys on the squad wear T-shirts. The women wear belly revealing tight tops.
Yeah, go to any gym today, and that's what they're wearing.
I just
too.
want to say this, when you talk about, they're not, it's not part of the game. A football game, they've done studies, right? Like a 3.5 hour football game, there's 15 minutes of actual action. Football's boring, guys. You need cheerleaders. I'm just saying. You need some action at times. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it. David Heurtel, Trudie Mason, this morning on The Big Five.